Benos, 48. What's the weirdest thing you've done with a banana?
Really? There are no like proper answers to that question. I've eaten it. I may have eaten it like with some sort of like inappropriateness, but that's about as far as I've gone. Bananas are to be respected. Don't do anything stupid with them.
Hey guys, it's Gina with Sidewalk Talk. This is Blanke.
What's up?
Damn it.
Trippin'.
It's really
already.
early. Okay, so you are from Australia.
I am from Australia, yeah.
Bundaberg.
Yeah, I was born in Bundaberg.
So tell me what life was like growing up in Australia.
It was good. I mean, I love Australia. It's fantastic over there. It's always kind of a bit more laid back than here, I think is what people call it. But I mean, I grew up in a place called Canberra, which is the National Capital Territory for anyone who doesn't realise that. It's not Sydney. And it's like a big small town. It's got like 400,000 people, and you get to know everyone. It's one of those kind of cities, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it was awesome. It's a very family kind of oriented place, and yeah, it was really good to grow up in. It was like it's one of those places where, especially becoming like a DJ, whatever you're kind of doing, you can kind of get to the top of where you're trying to go, like not fairly quickly, but like a bit easier than say.
How would your family and friends growing up describe you?
I have no idea. I suppose probably active. I was like big into sports.
Yeah.
That was like what I thought I was going to kind of do before I really found music and creative stuff, I guess. My teachers would describe me as distracted. They did.
They would describe you as distracted?
For like for the entirety of like my at least primary schooling years, all of my report cards was easily distracted. So whatever the hell that means.
Your family is pretty creative. So your sister, mom, dad, they're all pretty creative. That's kind of how you got your creative side from.
Yeah. So my mum was a painter, an artist. She's always been into art, like drawing and all that kind of stuff. She was the one who really showed me the guitar as well. She was a musician to some extent. And my dad's a journalist, so I suppose that in itself is, relies on some sort of creativity. And he was a really good one. I learned a lot of my English Nazism off him. And yeah, my sister's also a painter, and my brother was a drummer. So we all had some sort of creativity in us, whether it be, I don't know, drawing or painting or music or something.
Did you think you were going to follow in any of those footsteps growing up at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I hoped so, because I was always sort of creative or athletic. So it was either one of those two, I guess.
So what sports were you involved in?
So I guess the main ones were, I was a cricketer, so I was a state rep cricketer. If anyone knows what cricket is. Any of the American viewers. You have a bat and a ball. It's kind of similar to baseball in a sense, but you have like two batsmen. Look it up. Anyway, I was really good at that. And then I was also a soccer player or a football player. Didn't quite get to state for that, unfortunately, but I thought that was like my best sport, but I didn't quite get there.
Which one's the sport that you won something in?
So cycling was like
Cycling.
Yeah, track cycling was my sort of the last big thing that I did, and that was I was like third in Australia for starting like 250 meters, so I could get like from standing start to like 250 meters like fairly quickly, I guess.
Right.
So yeah, I was aiming to like get into the Olympics and stuff for that before before I lost. Yeah, well, I was like,
were you pretty close?
I was fairly close. I was expecting to get like the 2022, was it? Something like that. Trying to get into that anyway, like who friggin' knows. I dropped out stopped doing it when I was like 18, when I started to find music and all that kind of stuff. And like the kind of group that I was in, it was hard to keep going. I was like the only sole sprinter, and so it was difficult to like train on my own. There was no like community for me to really get involved in. There was like a bit of a boys club thing going on. It was one of those things where I was just like, and at that point in my life I was like, I need friends and support and all that kind of shit when I'm doing like
Yeah,
something like
true.
that. It was hard to kind of
Right.
continue on in a
Right.
sense. But yeah, but that was my thing. And then I was doing athletics and stuff as well, so I was like a long jumper and a sprinter and all that jazz. So yeah.
Jeez, and okay, so that was 18 when you decided to
Yeah,
leave that and go into music?
Yeah, to some extent. I was
Because
like,
you were juggling being a barista
yeah,
and managing a club.
yeah. So
when
I,
was all that?
that was I started working at a club when I was 18 and 6 months. A club called Academy in Canberra, which is like the big sort of super club.
How'd you
there.
get that? Like, what
How
made
did I
you
get-
what made you want to be a manager at a club?
Well, I originally just started out as like as a glassy,
As a what?
as a
Glassy?
I was picking up glasses.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I got into the bar, and
Isn't
then I
that a
worked my way
busboy?
up. Busboy, sure. Let's go with that. We call it glassy. Picking up
call it-
glasses, you know what I mean?
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And
Australian
then
terminology.
yes, and then I was working in cafes since I was like 15,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the girls I worked in a cafe with worked at Academy, and she was like, "Oh, you should come like bartend and stuff," because I was doing bartending at the cafe as well. So I was doing like coffee and alcohol and all that kind of stuff. So I went and did that because I thought it sounded like fun. And then I was DJing when I was like 17, so before this. And so that was kind of like my leg in. And then from there, I worked up to being the manager. And like the week that I got the management role, I started getting my first DJing gigs. So I kind of had to like quit the managing role. And then, well, I didn't quit the managing role then. I was like, on Thursday nights, I'd like, I'd bartend until about 12 o'clock. I'd change my clothes in the bathroom, go run up and play and DJ from 12 till 2.
For that same club?
For the same club. And then
Oh.
go get changed again, jump back in the bar and close the bar from 2 till like 4 or 5. So I'd, like,
What?
everyone would be like, "Wait, you were just like serving my drinks?" And I was like, "Yeah." So that was fun.
And that's like something you wanted to do.
Yeah, I really enjoyed serving drinks and making drinks, and I was like getting into the whole mixology thing and whatever. So, but I got more into Well, I got really into bartending and like making drinks and doing all that stuff, and then I got really into like the coffee making side of things. So it was kind of like I wanted to do one of those two, but it was full on work and it wasn't as sort of creative. And I realized that, you know, once I could actually make my own music, then that was definitely the thing that I wanted to do. So
Yeah, so at what point did you decide I want to start producing music and not just DJing?
I wish I could remember the point that I've like figured all that out, but I remember like finding Logic, which was like the DAW that everyone uses, the workstation, on Apple. And it's like, you know how you got Ableton and like Logic and FL Studio and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So I found that and I was like, holy shit, like I can put all these sounds together, because I was playing guitar since I was like 10 years old and stuff as well, and I wanted to do the whole band thing, but it was hard to find bands. And you know, I feel like this is like every dubstep producer's sap story that we were all into like metal, and then we couldn't make it in a band, so we started making our own shit and made dubstep, and here we are. So I guess like that's more or less my story as well.
Did someone introduce it to you, or did you kind of
I
find it on your own?
have no idea. I feel like I found it on my own because I don't know who would have like introduced me to it at that point in time. I know there was like a few other DJs around who were trap days when it was started first coming out, and like the Moombahton, and they were all making that stuff, and I was like, what the hell? So I kind of think I probably got like exposed to it.
At what point did you decide that you wanted to take a step further and go full-time with the Blanke project?
I was doing like, you know, DJing, and like I was making like Big Room House and like Melbourne Bounce and doing all that stuff back when it was like a big thing. I originally started making like drum and bass and like progressive, like melodic house, like Deadmau5 kind of stuff, but like, you know, 8-10 minute drawn out songs, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I was like, this seems right. It's all the metal and stuff I used to listen to was like 8-minute song as well, and I thought that was like a normal song, so I really enjoyed doing that. But then I like fell into the other scene that was a bit more accessible to people, and that was kind of easier to make as well. And that was it was a thing called Lukey. That was my project, and I guess I started making heavier stuff when I started getting into like Moombahton and like that kind of mid-tempo-y shit, and then making like trap, like dubstep and stuff like that. And then once I started doing that, I kept like flinging demos at Ministry of Sound, and I knew the A&R, head A&R there, and he finally said, yeah, we want to sign one of your records. And I was like, I remember that moment when I was like closing up one of my cafe that I was working in, and he sent me that message, and I just like fucking dropped to the ground, and I was like, oh my god.
How many did you send to the
Well, I mean, like, that was one of the I think that was one of the first ones I sent to him, because I was like super picky.
So one of the first ones you sent got signed.
Yeah, I think so.
What?
But then like that one didn't even get released in the end, because like each week I was sending him something that was like, I don't know, when producers are at this kind of point, like every month they just get better and better and better, you know what I mean? So I was like, at that point in time I was kind of just sending him new stuff, and we ended up like releasing other things, which ended up being Black Mamba and Koji. So yeah, that was like one of my first releases as Blanke. But basically what I mean was, what I was getting to is that like we sent him all this stuff, and then we all decided that we needed a new like project for it, because it didn't really fit the Lukey brand anymore. So that's kind of how that came about.
Oh, that's awesome. When did you decide you wanted to move to LA?
Well, there was like a whole like stepping stone of Sydney to do before that, because I was still in Canberra at that point. And
because you met your manager, which kind of
I
expedited the whole process.
I guess, yeah, he was definitely like, he's been the absolute turning point with like everything in terms of my music life. But we met when I was booking shows with a friend back in Canberra, and we were doing like these random little nights because it was fun to do. We like put on themed nights and stuff, and I knew that he was managing one of the guys that we were going to book, and I was like, sweet, this will be perfect because he's going to come down and we can I can show him music and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I did that, and he liked what he heard, and so then it was kind of from there. It was him saying, you know, we need to go to Sydney, like we need you up in this kind of scene, and then I just did do it, and so I finally kind of bit the bullet and moved.
And then now you're in LA.
And now I'm in LA. It's the same deal. It was basically like after the whole, we just had to do the whole visa thing, and I was in Sydney for 2 years and got the hell out of there, and now I'm here.
The library?
Oh my gosh. Oh, is that the free book thing? Oh my god, I need to do this one day. I see them everywhere. America's got these, and I'd rarely see them in Australia, but I need to bring a book with me wherever I go so I can like put one in.
Well, obviously a whole bunch of great things are happening with the Blanke project.
Yes.
But outside of that,
yes,
what are some challenges, some struggles that you deal with within either personally or within the music business?
Interesting, because I suppose music is taking up like almost 100% of my life at the moment, which is great. But I mean, like, it's always been a struggle. I found to like, relationships are always the one thing that I guess pop up with anything that, you know, anyone who has work that is overtaking their life. Relationships are kind of the one thing. Like, I find I have a very, very, very small like circle of friends now. A lot of them are on the internet.
You know what? I noticed that's me too.
Twitter friends are like,
Twitter
my best
friends, Instagram friends.
No, but thankfully, like, the cool thing is like a lot of my internet friends did live in LA. So by the time I moved to LA, I already had like this. I have a better social life here than I did back at home.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of my producer friends that are doing what I do live here, and it's been really good. So they've kind of shown me around LA and like showed me the ropes and got me comfortable here.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it's been really good. And
Twitter
like
friends are the best friends.
No, they have been anyway. But yeah, I mean, I suppose that's been the one thing, and like I can't, holding any sort of like solid girlfriend situation has always been hard, whether or not it be like, well, I mean, like, it's either a jealousy issue or it's like a you're never around type thing, and it's like that's all totally valid and fair points. That's just not a whole lot, especially like right now, because it's just like it's freaking like it's go time for what we're doing. So
let's go this
woo!
way.
You can turn back around. It's gonna be even worse when the sun's behind us.
But it's
gonna be blown out.
From my eyes.
My precious eyes. It'll be fun once you get past these trees.
Okay.
So yeah, I suppose that is the first thing that pops into my head. The the other things I guess that I personally deal with is,
Your gut.
My gut. Yeah, I know. That's what I was getting to. Yeah, I guess it's like my like gut issues. I know a lot of people have like really worse off stuff, like they have probably celiac disease and all that kind of stuff. So mine is like a kind of like more minor version of that, I guess. It just means like my diet's like super restricted in terms of like I can't have any grains, can't do like dairy and all that kind of stuff, which both of those in itself mean I have to cut back to pretty much like just vegetables and meat, which is like fine. And it's been like, that's been a bit of a journey for me since I like moved to America, since I figured out what all this stuff was and I was like, you know, living life like it was, I thought was normal, and I was like, why am I like tired all the fucking time? Like I thought I just had like an iron deficiency or something that we couldn't figure out, but we finally figured out that my gut was like hating what I was putting in it.
Who's we? Who figured out that?
Me and my sister. My sister's always been really good with like looking out for me, I guess. When I'm like just doing my shit, she'll be like, you know, in another city going, hey, like, are you surviving? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why do you look pale?
Oh.
And I'll be like, do I? She's like, yeah. And then so she got me to go see like a naturopath that she and my mum saw all the time, and she was like an absolute godsend, because she was the one who sort of told me what was going on with my insides and why I was kind of like, why my gut was hating me. And the fact that my gut was hating me, I didn't know what was going on. Like I was like, I had pimples and I was like 24 and I was like, what the hell why am I not passing? Like I'm not going through puberty anymore. I never really had that big of an issue with it. So it was like, the fact that was coming around was like weird. I was like tired all the time. Especially touring, it was really difficult because I'd like fly like 2 hours up to Brisbane or whatever, and then I'd be like exhausted just from like that little bit of travel. I'd have to nap before gigs and I'd feel like weirdly terrible, and I was like, this surely isn't normal. And so thankfully she was like, hey, like stop being an idiot and go care for yourself. And I was like, fuck, true, that's probably not a bad idea. And then yeah, I guess this naturopath sort of told me to stop eating things like anything mainly processed, like grains and all that kind of stuff, like just to stick with brown rice and whole grains. And chocolate was one of those bad things I was supposed to not have, like raisins, like just random little things that she was able to test for. And it was all natural. Everything she like told me to do from there was all kind of like, all the supplements were, you know, they were supplements. They weren't like a cure like in a drug sense. It was like, hey, just have like B12 vitamins and you'll be fine type thing. And it's like, and it worked, and it was amazing. Like, so cutting out things and getting the balance like rejigged back into my body was like really game changing. And then from there it was kind of like more of a journey into that, like still finding out like if I was reacting to things, then figuring out what they were, and then yeah, I just,
wow, it
was
like you have everything figured out as far as nutrition and staying healthy.
Well, no, I mean like it's
definitely not something
it's a constant freaking battle at the moment, because like I made a curry the other night, and I put like this little jar of like Trader Joe's like curry garam masala mixture, like it was a liquid stuff. Yeah, it was fantastic. It tasted amazing. I thought I checked the ingredients. The night I was up like all night with stomach pains, going, what the hell is going on? Because I make everything from scratch, so I know what's in them. And ooh, bees. I like bees. Sorry, that was just like terrifying. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? And then I checked the jar, and it said like second ingredient was milk, and I'm like, you fucking idiot. So it's like just little things like that can like completely screw me over, and like I need to be super careful.
Milk?
I can't have milk apparently.
No dairy?
No, I can have cheese.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I have cheese. I don't know if I can have cheese, but I do it anyway.
Okay, thank God.
So yeah, it's stuff like that kind of, you know, and like even the stuff that's supposed to be like gluten-free is often worse for me than actually having gluten in a weird way. Like I'll have like lentil pasta, and it will absolutely level me for like days. And the weird thing is, it's not like, because this gut thing, there's like so many hormones in your gut that like relay back to your brain that like affect your mood as well as everything else. So it's like I'd be like depressed for like 2 or 3 days just because I had fucking the wrong food, and I was like, this is absolute insanity.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So like it's
you're like super sensitive.
Yes, or like yeah, a lot of people these days are like, it's a big thing at the moment. People's gut health is just really terrible. And it's because of all the processed stuff we have, and like all the sugars and all the stuff that we put into our produce that's like, yeah, kind of wrecking our insides. But yeah, we just have to be kind of careful of that, and some people it's getting like affecting more than others.
Right.
And I guess, yeah, it's just like one of those things, you know. So just trying to keep on top of it where I can. That was a rant, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I'll put all of that in there. It's actually very informative.
Yeah.
But what's next for the Blanke project? You have Red Rocks coming up, which is a huge deal.
Yeah. So Red Rocks this is a really nice house.
These are really nice houses.
Yeah, we're in a good part.
Yeah, these are goals. House goals.
Yeah, Red Rocks is coming up. I'm supporting Illenium on Thursday the 10th, which is like super exciting. It'll be main support for that one at Red Rocks, so it'll be like nighttime and it'll be full, and I'm gonna play my music and it's gonna be fun. So yeah, we got that.
Anything special for that show?
Yeah, I mean, we've got like a bunch of different things to premiere. I've been working a lot on like vocal singles and some melodic music, which has like realistically been a great passion of mine, even though I've kind of gotten somewhat recognized by heavier music. So I'm really excited to like put these out because I'm really proud of them. It's taken a while for me to be like happy with that style of music that I'm making. So I've got a couple of those tracks coming in there. What else have I got? Got like a couple of remixes. Oh, I'll be playing the Paramore remix that everyone's been talking about.
Oh my god, I want to hear that.
Yeah, I'm really
so
excited.
bad.
So it's like another melodic one, which is really cool. It's funny like what you can do to a vocal stem, like, and kind of rewrite the entire mood of the track just by like a chord progression behind it. It always like fascinates me.
Paramore was like,
Paramore is the shit. Hayley Williams, I was like, I need to get her on one of my tracks.
She was, yep, that's goals.
Wouldn't it? It'd be so good. Yeah, so like I've got a couple of those. There's I got a collab coming out with Godlands really soon as well, which will be like day after Red Rocks. So we're playing that at Red Rocks too, which would be cool. She's like a so Godlands is an Australian act who is making some dope shit. She does a lot of trap stuff. But yeah, we're really excited. She's got the most like dank, I don't know how to say this probably, but she's like her steez is unmatched. I'm a big fan. The way she dresses, how she presents herself is just fucking fire. She's like the Billie Eilish of like Australia.
I have to see.
Yeah, she's great. So we've got this really awesome track coming out, which I'm super excited for.
Awesome.
We've got a few people like playing it out and stuff. BDSM been playing it in all their sets and all that kind of shit. So it's it's exciting. It's gonna be a good night. Very, very keen.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah, we got a few other dates on the Ascend tour as well. Like we've got Washington, which probably has already happened by the time this comes out. As well as a few other dates. So yeah, very stoked to be on that tour.
What do you want to be remembered for?
That's a difficult question. I want to say music, but I want to make like a decent impact. I don't want to just be like, I want to make a really good album that's like really tells a good story that's somewhat impactful on the scene. I like how tight-knit the EDM scene is, and I hope that I can make some sort of impact on that, on the way that we view music and progress things like forward. I'm always kind of, I don't know, I want everything that I do to be somewhat forward thinking, have somewhat of it, like some form of initiative to it, to keep things moving, because I think that's like paramount. I want to be able to like, that's a huge spider.
Oh my god, you scared the shit out of me. I thought you meant like a real one.
That would have been crazy. Yeah, make some sort of impact on this scene. I love how I love how tight-knit we all are, and to be remembered in here in any way, shape or form would be amazing.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Of course.
This is Blanke Music. All right, over there.
Yeah.
All right, guys, this is fan questions. So many questions, I had to filter through these.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Benos, 48. What's the weirdest thing you've done with a banana?
Really? There are no like proper answers to that question. I've eaten it. I may have eaten it like with some sort of like inappropriateness, but that's about as far as I've gone. Bananas are to be respected. Don't do anything stupid with them.
Do you have any tours planned?
So we've got a big little tour coming up. Big little tour. Did you like that?
Big little tour.
I got a tour coming up. It's got like 40 plus dates on it. I can't tell you when or where, but if I don't come through your city, I'm gonna be pretty surprised. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yep. How do you go about creating your sets? Organized by key, BPM, fave songs?
These days, it depends like what kind of
The real Will Russell, sorry.
Oh yeah.
I have to say that right.
Thanks, Will. It's changed over the course of my DJ career, I guess. Like, depends what you're doing it for, depends what your set's for. If it's like a warm-up set, I'll do it differently to if it's a headline set. My headline sets now are different compared to what they were back a couple years ago. Like, I've got a lot more of my own music now, so a lot of the stuff I play now is like edits of my own stuff, edits of other people's, and a lot of it is melodic mixing. So I'll try and make things fit, melodically, so they're all nice and sonic, and we probably should go that way. Yeah, so it kind of goes that way. I try to have some sort of flow in terms of BPM. I know that's not the most like amazing answer, but there's a whole lot to it that like I need to sit down and like tell you all about.
Polly GGG, best crowd you've ever had?
Ooh.
Probably gonna be Red Rocks.
Maybe. I mean, there's a difference between like a big crowd and a good crowd. There could be a crowd of 50 people that know who you are and are there for you and like love your stuff and go absolutely crazy for 60 minutes. And then there could be 1,000 to 5,000 people that,
True.
May not know you, but still like go hard, but it's like, it's a different feeling. So, I mean, a memorable crowd for sure was the Hawaii crowd. So one of my first US gigs, I did at Hawaii, and that was one of the best weekends of my life. But that crowd there was really cool. And the Chinese Laundry crowds are always amazing. That's in Sydney.
I keep hearing about that place.
Yeah, you'll hear a lot apparently. And then, yeah, I mean, the LA crowd was really good when I did my debut here. Yeah, I remember a really good set in Tampa. That was like a 90-minute one. I really enjoyed that, and the crowd there was like just so engaged for so long, and that I really loved. Yeah.
Chipper Daniels, what do you do when you feel like you can't make anything?
I had a good chat about this to someone else the other day. I think it was yesterday, like on Instagram. Writer's block is like a really weird thing that I've found differs between person to person. Obviously it's a super subjectional thing, like, but I think it's got to do with like setting your productivity right. Like, it's got to do with prevention as opposed to cure. So like, if I will have some sort of routine through the day that makes sure that I won't get into those positions where I won't get into something where I'm like, oh, I can't write now, because like you can't be on the creative side of your brain constantly. Like, a lot of people just kind of try to write and write and write and write and write and write, and you just get burnt out. Your brain can't deal with that. You need to kind of go back and forth. You need to like give your brain a rest. You need to go and read. You need to go and exercise. You need to go and like do all these things that your body like requires. Like, have a hobby that's not just making music, you know what I mean? Because that will always reset your brain, so by the time you come back to writing music, you have a fresh like head about it, and you can always write. I mean, but to get things to get out, you just, I don't know, go and, like I say, go and read, go for a walk, go think about something else. Or I find sound design tutorials are always a nice place to start. Getting new sounds is like super handy to like start writing.
Waffles or pancakes?
Neither, because I can't have grains.
Who's your dream collab?
This question's always super interesting too. Collabs are funny because you want like collabs to be beneficial to both parties, I find, or you need to like, yeah, in whatever way that may be, whether you're learning something from someone else or whatever. Like, I love Rob Swire, I love Pendulum and Knife Party and the way he writes, and I would love to learn from him, but I don't think I'd want to collaborate with him. He is like an idol type thing. Same with like Porter Robinson, for example. I can't exactly see myself like collaborating with him and like.
Oh, so it's more people you want to learn from, not really
I guess, but it's
with.
like, yeah, I don't know how to explain it because I just don't. I don't think I could bring to the table what this is probably just my self-doubt, but I can't bring to the table what they would be able to on their own.
What was your favorite emoji? Don't say the banana one.
Not the banana one.
Not the banana one.
I really like the heart, the guy who's doing this, and the hearts are like around him. He's always cute. I really like the sweaty guy, and he's like the upset sweaty guy. He's got a lot of emotion to him because he comes in handy in like sad times.
Oh, okay.
There's probably a couple others I'm not looking at. But you can't ever use the side eye guy or the winky emoji. They are both cursed, and you can't.
Why
use
is that
them.
cursed? I use it all the time.
Have you ever sent wink emojis?
Yeah, I always
Never,
send wink
ever.
emojis.
You're cursed.
But people understand that I'm just a very friendly person, so
Nope.
they're gonna get
Never
it.
send me a wink emoji or a side eye.
Why?
Because it's not okay. They are terrifying.
Why is it terrifying?
Seriously?
No.
Oh, you're that kind of person.
What was your first live show concert you ever went to? Who played, where, and how old were you?
Oh God.
Okay, let me just.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I remember when I was 15 and my friend showed me like what the hell? It's like a scat band or something like that. It was a band that we went and saw. I can't remember what their name is. It was in Canberra. And a band, it was like a 7-piece band. They were like rock band with like brass players, like saxophones and trumpets and stuff, and there was like the most high energy thing I've ever seen in my life, and everyone was like going around in a circle and like jumping and doing this shit as like the big dance that everyone would do, and it was like, I don't know, that was still one of the most fun gigs I've ever been to in my life. I didn't know a single song, but it was called Los Capitanes or something along those lines. It was sick, and they were a Canberra band, and it was like unreal.
I'm fairly new to production. What are some tips you'd give?
Yeah.
No.
You fit?
Yeah, no, do that.
Yeah, I mean, that is always an interesting question in the sense that like you have so many places that you can start. YouTube is obviously like a fantastic resource. There's so much stuff out there that you can learn from. There's so many videos, there's so many like great videos these days especially, so there's always a good starting point. Read books, but I find the advice that I give everyone is that you should learn from other people as much as you possibly can. People who you can just learn so much from other producers. In anything that you learn, it's like if you learn from someone who's done it before, it's just going to be the most fast-tracked way.
Fake dub, what is your creative process for sound design?
There's a million places to start, I guess. I do a lot of resampling. That basically means that I'll make a sound, press it to audio, then make another sound from that sound, and just keep processing things that way. Because that was really cool, because it's like you get a unique sound that no one else could have had because of the variables. Like basically the way that you did that, there's almost certainly no one else who's done the exact same way that you have. Whereas if you just start off with say Serum Patch and make a wub, then almost everybody who has Serum can do that in Ableton. So that's always kind of good. It's a good place to start, I guess. But creative, I don't know, it's always kind of fun to make racks in Ableton because there's like almost no wrong answers. You can kind of just chuck shit on and like hope for the best and like have these ridiculous long like saturators with OTTs and corpuses and like a bunch of other shit, and then like map different like knobs to one knob, and then when you turn the one knob it moves like 4 other knobs and then creates some like wacky shit. But yeah, you kind of just, that's always kind of fun. And the cool thing about that is that you can, when you turn these knobs, like, so basically just like press record on like, in Ableton, or if you don't have that, like there's a thing called Audio Hijack, which like records your system audio and basically just like make sounds for like 10 minutes. And like somewhere in that 10 minutes, you're gonna have some like wacky shit that you probably wouldn't have been able to come up with just like one little MIDI pressed patch thing, if that makes sense.
Great.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I did.
You gotta put that to practice.
I got everything. Yep. Okay, well, thank you for answering your questions and sending over your questions.
Yeah, thanks for the questions, guys.
That's it.
Hell yeah.
Bye, guys.
Thanks Sidewalk Talk for having me on. This has been a freaking awesome experience.
Of course.
Thank you, Gina.
Of course, now we're kind of lost.
Yay. Yeah, we gotta find our way back to ramen now.
Okay.
Sorry, Josh.
Bye.